If a little green is good, more is even better. Now, back to Green is Good with John Shigarian and Mike Brady.
Welcome back to Green is Good, and we are so thrilled today to have Seth Goldman, who's the president and TEO.
TEO, I like it.
TEO, I love it. And co-founder of Honest Tea, the company he co-founded with his professor, Barry Nailbuff of Yale. And this isn't the first time we've had on a Yale. You remember we had on our friend a couple of weeks ago, Rich Littlehale.
Rich Littlehale, yeah, that was just 2 weeks ago. So Yale is being very well represented.
Well represented. Seth, welcome to Green is Good.
Thanks, John and Mike. Great to be with you.
Hey, listen, your resume is like of rock star status. We want to give you all the time to talk today, but you've won a myriad of awards, including Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year, and we've seen you on all the green channels on cable, and you are truly one of the green rock stars, way ahead of the curve. Thank you for joining us, and our listeners want to know what inspired you to start Honest Tea, and how proud are you in all these years that you are now the tea of the President of the United States of America?
Well, I'm humbled by that, and you know what started it was I was thirsty. We just felt like there weren't drinks out there that were didn't have tons of sugar in them. So it started with a pretty basic, need of thirst. That's one of the most basic needs a person can have. And the idea then that there was, I knew when I was thirsty, and Barry was thirsty as well, that we suspected other people felt the same way. And it's been a really fun to see really the whole population transform, because when we started 12 years ago, everybody was drinking sweet drinks. Every drink was much more like soda than it is now. And so we really just wanted to put out something that was different. And the more we got into it and the more we learned that organic made a real difference in the way the tea was produced and the way it tasted, we evolved to that very quickly. And that's really been one of the main drivers of our growth.
Mike and I love your website, honesttea.com, and your mission statement. Honest Tea creates and promotes delicious, truly healthy organic beverages. We strive to grow with the same honesty we use to craft our products with sustainability and great taste for all. Did you come up with that?
We did.
When you started the company, or did that evolve over time?
Well, it's always been what we stood for.
Okay.
And, as we grew, one of the things we saw was that too many people didn't have access to healthier products, and we love Whole Foods. That's been the bedrock of our business, but there are only, 289 Whole Food stores in the country, and there's a lot more people out there that don't have access to them. And so we wanted to make sure we were creating a product that would be accessible not just geographically, but also in terms of price, because I think there's often a misperception that organic is only for people who can, who have a lot of money, and it doesn't have to be that way. And then on top of that, even worse, that healthy products are only available for people who can afford it. And we really feel a strong part of our mission is to make healthier, more sustainable products more available.
Well, that is so true. And what we found, Seth, in our dealings with so many people and entrepreneurs in the green revolution, and also doing some price comparison on our own, and just talking to people in the general public, given the choice, most consumers, if there is an organic alternative, and if the price point is within a couple of 3 cents either way, most often the consumer will choose the organic. Now, if it's priced at or below, then that makes it a double no-brainer.
Right. It's just a matter of access. And so, for us, we did a deal with the Coca-Cola company a few years ago, and that was, some people said, oh, how could you do that? Coke is not a company that's really has the same commitment to organics that Honest Tea does. And we said, look at Coke's distribution, and if we can get organic products out to the same amount of shelves and doors that Coke has, then we can really make some change happen.
Well, it's so funny you bring that up, Seth, because our show is an hour show weekly, and Mike and I were so excited to have you on today. But the first half of the show, you're the second half, was the chief of Mike, come on.
Electrification.
Thank you. Of Ford, another amazing American legacy brand that now gave us the window to the future of cars and transportation and electric vehicles. So look at now how another great, amazing American brand, Coca-Cola, is investing in the future of the world, in the future of the beverage industry by investing in Seth Goldman and Honest Tea.
Yeah, it's exciting, and that's how change happens. Change happens two ways. It starts starts with people like us who do, at the time, what at the time was a crazy idea, putting out a less sweet drink when everyone's drinking just gobs of sugar,
right,
or making something organic. But then we demonstrate it's viable. And then you get the large companies to invest in it and take it to the next level. And that's why it makes sense for Ford, and that's why it makes sense for us, too.
Well, let's go back. I mean, 1998, you started off with 5 Ts. Where are you today? 12 years later, your company has grown, off the charts growth. How many teas you have now? What's going on?
We've got 34 varieties, but it's really more about the number. So in the first year, we made about 240,000 bottles. That was sort of the scale of the enterprise.
Okay.
And this year last year we did over 24 million, and we'll get toward 100 million this year. So, it's a different scale in terms of
400% growth in the worst economy ever.
Well, we've been at it a long time. Especially the beverage industry, it's a draining business. It takes a lot out of you. So it's been a lot of work. I don't want to make it sound like we were a 12-year overnight success.
We got you on that one. And in terms of like our listeners out there that haven't had the pleasure of trying your wonderful drink yet, what is the footprint now that that Coke has invested in you? Where can they access your wonderful, honest beverages?
Well, that's what's so exciting for us, and that's we've seen happen this year as we've been expanding our distribution. So, actually, starting in March, we're going to be available at every CVS store in the country.
Wow!
We're also going into all of the Kroger supermarkets across the country. So we're gaining this, and we've always been strong on the coast. But now we're gaining this national footprint that really does make us much more accessible, and that's what we were hoping for.
Hey, for our folks out there that are really greenies, tree huggers, people who are like watch everything that goes in their mouth and they ingest, tell us the difference between your tea and the quality of it versus the typical beverage out there. And we're not going to knock any of them, but sell us on the amazing quality of your tea.
Sure. Well, that's important to keep in mind. So the first step is we call it honest tea because it's made with real tea leaves. So when you use real tea leaves, you get the real antioxidants, and you certainly get the real taste too.
Right.
But in most of the other bottled tea brands, they don't use real tea. It's just a powder, and they add water. But the real difference, from our perspective, is the organic piece of it. Or tea leaves, as it turns out, is one of the few agricultural products that's never rinsed. So, if we buy a tomato or an apple, I can take it home, I can rinse it, I can peel it, I could get a lot of the surface chemicals off. But with tea, if any chemicals get sprayed on those leaves, they're going to stay on those leaves until hot water's poured on them, and so you basically you're drinking all the chemicals that get sprayed on the leaves.
Right.
And then, of course, there's the impact that all those chemicals have on the ecosystem where they're sprayed, and then the impact they have on all the people who are picking the tea leaves too. So, from our perspective, organic is an important way to make sure you're avoiding these chemicals, whether it's pesticides or fungicides or herbicides. These are all toxins that are designed to kill living organisms. Now they're much smaller living organisms, but I would say it's safe to assume that the human body does not have a need to be ingesting those kind of chemicals.
Hey, Seth, we know your company has a true green DNA. When people read the history on your great website, honesttea.com, or read articles on your company, your company, Honest Tea, has a green DNA. Talk to us more than just the organic tea leaves. Tell us everything that your company does to lessen its environmental impact and be green.
Well, it's a lot. I mean, it really is what we're about. So we're always looking at packaging and how we can reduce the packaging footprint, because that's certainly one of the biggest impacts. As we do sell in larger bottles, but most of what we sell is a single-serve bottle. So we sell in glass, which is a nice recyclable package, and we've also introduced a plastic bottle. And the reason the plastic bottle has merit is that it's so much lighter than the glass bottle. That our plastic bottle is 7 times lighter than the glass, and then we just found a way to reduce that by 22% again. So, when you hear the words reduce, reuse, recycle, the first one is always to reduce. And so we've done that. And then we've also gotten involved in different programs to encourage more recycling, because unfortunately the majority of products, bottled drinks out there, still aren't recycled. I hope the majority of Honest Tea is recycled with the package, but across the country that's not the case. So we've worked with different recycling organizations. There's a company called Recycle Bank that we work with that works on local level, and then we have launched a local nonprofit here in Bethesda called Bethesda Green. and that's where we're based in Bethesda, Maryland. We installed over 30 recycling bins throughout the downtown to help instill a green ethic within the community, too.
And we understand that even your furniture is somewhat recycled.
Yeah, the office itself is we try to make it a eco-friendly model, so we've got reused furniture, we've got bamboo floors, which is made of, that's a rapidly renewable hardwood. We actually we installed brick pillars with recycled brick from it was on its way to a landfill. Then we have a countertop made with recycled glass and concrete. And we also installed a shower in the bathroom so employees can bike to work, because we gave all of our employees bikes a few years ago, and so a lot of them bike to work.
So we've been talking about branding today on our show, and so Coca-Cola, the wonderful American brand, and global brand Coca-Cola, which was born here in the USA, invested in your company in February 2008, and it's been written in the media that they have the opportunity to buy you out in February or so of 2011. Does that worry you? Because Stephen Jobs is Apple. Seth Goldman is on his team. What does this mean for all of us out there that are looking up to you as one of the leaders of the green revolution?
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I certainly hope honesty is bigger than me, because what we really wanted to represent is this whole line of healthier, more sustainable food. But the fact is that I'm still very much intend to continue building this brand, and we've been at it we got into it to change the beverage industry, and have been at it for 12 years, and we are just now getting onto the main stage. I'd say we've been playing the secondary concert halls, and now we're getting onto the big stage, and we have a chance to really make change happen in a big way. And my goal is to make the brand as robust and as strong as possible with its current DNA. And I'm confident that if we do that, Coke won't be tempted or have any real need to want to tinker with it. They recognize that this is where the population's headed, so it's exciting for them to be, part of something that's really future-oriented.
And take us through the mind of a great entrepreneur. Why did you make the deal? What went through your mind while you were creating this great partnership that has helped you expand your platform and your global footprint?
Well, the key for us, and actually for the whole beverage industry,
Sure.
is distribution.
Okay.
You can make a great product, but if it's not available, if people can't find it, you really aren't. You're just sort of making a model. And
great point.
We were seeing some success in natural foods. That's always been a strong channel for us. But like I say, most people across the country didn't have access to the kind of product we were making. And then that limits, if they can't buy the product, it limits our ability to change the American diet. And it also limits our ability to change the way agriculture happens, particularly in the developing world, which is where we get the product from. So we really felt the need to get more distribution, and obviously Coke, like I say, does that better than anybody.
Wow.
And then for us too, we've been at it 12 years, and when we started the company, we took in investment money from, yes, some people from my family who probably would still love me even if they didn't get their money back, but we took it also from people we didn't know. And when you take in money from an investor, if you have an obligation to do your best to get it back to them in some way.
Right.
And so, I'm proud of the fact that we've been able to deliver, by the time Coke does buy the company, or if they do, it'll certainly have a strong return on the investor for the investors.
During the first 10 years, though, they were sort of drinking their dividends. We take it.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Hey,
exactly.
So
well, some of them, it's funny. Some of them invested just so we'd stay in business. They're like, hey, I like this drink, and I don't want you to go out of business, so let me invest.
So how about so Coke's your partner, and so now you're going from $25 million to $100, in a year. So take us through the next couple of years, and what other countries is now Honest Tea found in?
Well, tea is the world's second most popular beverage, so there's clearly a lot of opportunity. For us, we've still got most of this country that we need to focus on, so we haven't really done any kind of aggressive expansion outside of the U.S. yet. I would say that's probably still a few years away. We need to make sure this product's available,
sure.
Wherever drinks are sold in this country, and then I'm confident, certainly Coke has the reach to get it to other countries, and it's tempting to want to be everywhere overnight, but we got to make sure we succeed with what we got here.
Yeah, and talk about that a little bit. But when you guys lay out the next 5 years or 3 years, what other countries? What does Coke advise you will be the jump off? Where will you go first when you do take the show on the road?
Well, it's interesting. Companies like Japan and China are the largest consumers of bottled drinks, bottled tea. So clearly, there's opportunity there.
Gotcha.
And then you have to look at, too, where organics, where demand for that is growing, and certainly in Europe there's interest as well. But
gotcha.
the amazing thing about tea is almost every country in the world has some kind of tea that they drink.
That's
and
great.
In South America, it's a little more of a yerba mate. It just depends on the culture. So
you're in great shape wherever you take it. They're just you'll adapt to that area. But everyone loves tea, so you're going to be going into welcome communities.
I hope so.
Well, that's great. We'll talk about 1998. There was no Google wasn't part of our vernacular. Let's just say that.
Right.
And you have a wonderful website, honesttea.com, for our listeners out there. But tell us a little bit the leveraging and the use of new media and the advent of Facebook and Twitter and how you've used that to help get the message out about your brand.
Yeah, well, we've got so many of our consumers really are engaged, not just in our product, but really in the world and the way they look at the world, and they love the connections. They don't just think about the purchasing decisions they make separately from the way they live. And so we have really found that our connection, not just to directly to our consumers, but to a broader sense to the communities they care about, really meaningful. So it's fun how many, and this happens every week. There's some different organization where one of our really strong consumers is a member, and he or she will start telling their friends about our drinks, and then all of a sudden it spreads. So earlier this month, the Toastmasters International, which is a public speaking organization, they started using our cap quotes as the starting point for people to give extemporaneous talks, and all of a sudden it just spread throughout the whole organization. And this was one where we're not sponsors or anything, but it made sense, and it was a viral case of marketing, and where people were really interested in this. I got to go out and buy that product and learn more about it. So and we didn't orchestrate that, but part of what goes on is when you get a brand that's authentic and people can get excited about it, they'll spread the word themselves.
Right. So do you yourself do you Facebook or do you Twitter yourself? Is that part of your daily routine?
It's not part of my personal routine.
Okay.
My kids do it,
okay.
And I always find myself cutting back on emails. So I do, I sort of look at what my kids are up to.
That's great.
And Honest Tea has a very active Facebook page, and we send out a daily, quote of the day. But I haven't personally done that.
Seth, your story is so amazing and you're so inspirational. We have also a huge listener base of entrepreneurs. We're into we're just going into the last 5 minutes here on this side of it. Can you give some of the entrepreneurs out there, either in waiting or the ongoing entrepreneurs who just need a little inspiration, give them some of your pearls of wisdom to push them on here?
Sure. Well, the first one is make sure what you're doing is different and unique. There's just so many, Me Too businesses out there, and if you really want to succeed, you need to do it. If you're not doing it differently, you're going to be underarmed. The other thing is, I think entrepreneurs always think you need a lot of money to get something off the ground, and it's really not the case. You just need to make sure you spend your money wisely, and so sometimes you're a small company, but you feel like you need to spend like a big company, and we never did. That real heavy paid media. For us, it was sampling, and that's something that you can do as marketing that's easy, and you don't have to get out into the, throwing a lot of money around to still get up and running. And, of course, the corollary to that is you got to keep control of your business. If you take on too much investment too early, you're going to be diluted, and you won't be able to be the master of your destiny in terms of what happens. And then the last one is you got to stick with it. It's no question. It's challenging. It's trying. It can be frustrating. It can be terrifying, all at the same time, and it can be thrilling. But there's so many setbacks along the way, and if you let the setbacks get you down, you got to just find other ways to get to success. And just because someone says no the first 10 times, they may not say. They still may say yes when you come back the 11th time.
Who inspires you? Everyone needs a coach. Everyone needs a mentor. Who are a couple of your inspirations?
Yeah. Well, I'm very fortunate. My co-founder, Barry, has been a great friend and advisor and supporter through the years, and he's chairman of our board, but he doesn't get involved in the day-to-day business, so he's really a great person for me to check in with as we grow. another person who's on our board who's been so helpful is Gary Hirschberg of Stonyfield Farm Yogurt, and he's a great inspiration as someone who took a healthier product and made it available to a wide audience and kept its mission intact. So I've certainly learned a lot from Gary.
Right. And if tonight you could have dinner with anybody that you choose, dead or alive, who would you have dinner with tonight?
Interesting. I think I've always been inspired by people who take existing sort of status quo and just change it dramatically. And so for me, people like Nelson Mandela or Martin Luther King are examples of people who just really made people think differently. Certainly living Nelson Mandela would be an honor.
Yeah. Great. So now what's the future? Give us a little window. We just heard Ford's future for like the next, Mike and I just heard it for the next 40 years. Give us just the next couple of years for Honest Tea. What's the future look like in the last couple of minutes, and any last pearls of green wisdom that you have for us?
Sure. Well, for Honest Tea, the future is, making this a national brand, getting available in all the places where people buy beverages. And so, if we succeed in that, it means people will have access to healthier foods and obviously more sustainable foods too. From there, we have the opportunity to become an international brand, but we also have the opportunity to expand beyond just the drinks we sell. I mean, right now we have tea and our thirst quenchers, but we have the rights to honest food, and we can be marketing more food products. So that's an interesting avenue, but really helping transform the American and eventually the global diet as well as the agricultural system.
Gotcha. Wow. Well, Seth, for all our listeners that want to learn more about Honest Tea or see more of what you're doing or read your mission online and all the other great facts that we just discussed, they can go to your wonderful website, honesttea.com. Of course, you have twitter.com honesttea and also facebook.com honesttea. So all the young kids out there that want to stay up more on all that social media stuff that's going on with Honest Tea. Seth, Mike and I just are so honored that you came on the show today. You are truly, inspirational because you not only talk a great talk, but you really walk the green walk. You have great green DNA at Honest Tea, and you really are the green rock star of the entire beverage industry. So for that, we're really thankful. And obviously, you're the greatest TEO we've ever had on our
probably the only one
on our show. So thank you so much. And Seth Goldman, you are living proof that green is good.
Thanks, guys.